Okay, I'm gonna start a series on how to make a good platformer. Today we're gonna be going over the theme, the ground, the background, and decorations. Okay, first of all, the first thing you want to make is the ground. I mean, I usually spend an hour to 2 hours making the art for my platformers at the beginning. Like, I'm deciding what the theme, what the ground looks like, so that's pretty much what we're gonna be doing. I think that I'm just gonna go for a classic ground. A good way to do this is either making lines or blocks for the grass, obviously. We could, if you wanted a scary, like a factory or something, then you could do repetitive tiles. I don't know, something like this. We're just going for grass. Now, whenever you're designing this, you want to go with whatever the theme of your platformer is. So I'm just going to go for sunny, happy, I don't know. Alright, now let's add some shading to this because this looks pretty boring. So, how to add shading to ground, you're going to select this fill option, empty one, then switch this one to whatever shade color you want. I want black. Now that's way too big. I'm going to go to backward. Alright, there. That pretty much just looks like any ordinary little overhang of ground. Let's see, I'm going to add some rocks into the dirt just for fun. We'll see how it makes better now. Good way to make rocks, I like to use this tool. You can just sort of shape them however you want. You can shrink them to whatever size you want. I make mine pretty small. Now that's a sort of dark color for a rock. I'm going to make mine a little bit lighter. And also, I'm going to leave that old one and make it as like background for my rock to make it sort of pop out. Just make it smaller, twist it. I'm going to do 3 rocks because things always look better in odd numbers. Yeah, that looks interesting. Alright. Now I'm going to make this a little bit darker because it's a little bit too green. It's almost unnatural. Alright, that's a good ground. Now, what you want to make sure is that your ground fits the theme of your platformer and you keep a couple specific colors. Now let's go over how to make some decorations to go with the theme of your platformer. So it looks like we're using just simple colors. There's not too much shading, nothing too special. So let's just make a really basic tree. Use very nice colors. That'll be some shading there. You can see that. This is not gradient shading, which is the shading I use for the ground. This is block shading. Very distinct differences between the light and the dark. Now we're going to add some branches. Now holding shift while making lines helps you make straight lines, which is so helpful. I use it all the time. Now I'm going to make some dark branches for the dark side of the tree. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Alright, now let's make some greenery for the tree. What tree doesn't have leaves? Unless if you are making a winter platformer, then you would probably make few to no leaves. Alright. Now, I'm mostly using lines for this. You can do anything you want, but you want to make sure that whether you're doing lines or just normal blocks for how you're doing it, you want to be consistent. That's the main thing in making a platformer just really stand out and look good. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, let's add a little bit of shading to these leaves by making some darker spots beneath. Now, I'm spending very little time, so this isn't looking that good. If you want yours to look good, which you probably do, I'd suggest spending a lot more time. I'm going to add some texture to my leaves. There we go. That looks okay. Also, usually you want your decoration in the very black, so I'm going to say forever, go to back layer. There we go. Alright. Not the best looking, and it's definitely not consistent. I'm going to redo this tree because it doesn't look consistent with this. Either I have to redo the tree, or if I like the tree more than I like the ground, which in this case I sort of do, I could just redo the ground. So I'm gonna make this a little bit darker because the tree is darker. I'm gonna do more block shading. Alright, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get rid of these rocks since they're not consistent. I'm gonna make this darker because the tree is darker. There we go. Now that's looking better. A little bit more consistent. I'm gonna add some rock types since it seems like I'm mostly doing lines. Now remember I'm using shift to make very straight lines. Also, I don't think that this dirt is dark enough. There we go. Okay, that looks much more consistent now. The main thing is consistency. Now, everything needs a background. You're staring at it the whole time. You need a good background. So, I think I just want a nice sunny day. So, let's see here. Start off with that is way too exuberant and colorful. My other colors are a little bit more dull, so we need to balance things out. Alright, this is a more dull blue. Alright, now let's select this shading. Get a bluer color. Make it a little bit brighter. Okay, so that's almost pink. I like that though. Looks pretty good. Let's add a sun. That looks okay. So, oh, that is not wide enough. Now, also matching line width is relatively important. It's not the biggest thing in the world because you don't have to do it, but I'd suggest it pretty highly. Alright, now obviously, oh my, sorry guys, I'm a little bit cold. I'm not spending much time on this at all. I can make this way better. Now, you want your sun, which this is a very poor excuse for a sun. You want your sun to be sort of like shiny, happy. So I'm going to get a circle, select this shading type, cancel one of the colors, swap it to get in the middle, select this color, and just go in front of it. Okay. Now, also there's a trick you can use, it's called grouping. If you select everything that you want in one spot and group it, the next time you'll click on it, it'll act as one shape, which is super helpful. So we have a nice shiny sun, even if it doesn't look all that great. Alright, we have a relatively consistent background and ground and sun. Now, I'm sure you guys can do way better than me. I spent like 5 minutes on my art. Just came out of my head. You should spend at least an hour working on your art for a platformer before you start. Alright, that's all for part 1. Can't wait for part 2. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but we'll go over obstacles, we'll go over what your character should look like, how to make it actually fun, music, sound effects, all that good stuff. So, that's all for now.